Right. Good morning.
Good morning.
Back after a few months.
Yeah,
Beautiful sunny day
yeah,
here in the UK. And yeah, we're just going to share the music that we've been listening to
yeah.
last night.
Had a good session, really.
Very good session. 4 or 5 hours, I think.
Yeah,
Right. Well, yeah, to anybody who's never tuned in before, John and I have been meeting for years and years and just
decades.
decades and just playing music to each other and then sharing that the next day. So here we go. Shout out to Mellow Man, who reminded me of this great track by Shante Moore called Love's Taken Over, which came out 1992 when I was living back in Hackney. And yeah, just a wonderful drum beat, very sort of sultry vocal, and an incredible groove. If you don't know it, tune into it.
What happened to Shantae Moore?
That's the only time I've ever heard of her. Is that one track?
Something about the time that came out rather than the song itself, actually, was just reminded of this, the Jam EP from Tribe Called Quest, which came out at the same time as Beats, Rhymes and Life. But it has an amazing track on it called Mardi Gras Midnight, which is, I think, available on one compilation, but it's an early Dilla production. Sounds fantastic, actually. Sample from Mahavishnu and somebody else. There's another sample on there which I can never quite place, actually, as well. But it's a classic Dilla track with a very good kind of rap from I can't remember her name, actually. There's a female rapper on here as well who only appears on this track, I think. It's fantastic. Anyway, definitely worth checking out if you can find it.
Another J Dilla production, or a remix, I should say, of Woo Ha. Got You All in Check from Busta Rhymes. We listened to the J Dilla Bounce remix, which sort of, yeah, still had the vibe of the original vocals, but a more kind of, well, just a more kind of Dilla-esque backbeat, actually. It was nice.
I love Busta Rhymes. Then moved from Busta Rhymes to Buffaloes. Don't know whether that was there at all. But Luke Courtney, I mean, best well known for making an album with very much influence in the kind of Leon Ware kind of mold, kind of sophisticated soul album as well. But this is a band he put together called Buffalo Smoke, with people like Steve Gadd and Will Lee and all these kind of people on there as well. And I had this album for quite a long time. I hadn't played it that much, and then I played I think somebody on YouTube just was talking about the first two tracks, which actually segue into each other as well. Which are it's kind of like disco, funky disco, really, with yeah, great, a really great track, actually. And the whole album's okay, but the first two tracks, which are Call the Police and 911, are just really great on here. And it's quite easy to find this. Although I'm to notice the price of it seems to suddenly be shooting up again. And I think I paid virtually nothing for this when I got it a couple of years ago. Anyway, Luke Courtney.
With a great Harry Whittaker keyboard solo.
It's a very long Harry Whittaker.
Very long Harry Whittaker. Which led me to pull out one of these two double albums of unreleased Roy Ayers music that came out on the BB music label. And we listened to the track I Just Want to Give It Up, which, yeah, I mean, it just, not a bad track here on both albums, actually. An incredible, incredible selection of stuff that just never got released. They just must have been making so much music.
People are always saying there's a lot of stuff that wasn't released, and you kind of go, yeah. But when this came out, you suddenly had two double albums worth of material. Sisters Love, this was an album that also was never released at the time, actually, which was on Motown. And they were I think, slightly too raw for Motown, actually, in their vocal kind of style. And also there's the great version of Curtis Mayfield's Give Me Your Love on here, which has been tacked on to this issue, which came out on Get On Down Records. Not a great sounding chunk of vinyl, I have to say. I also bought the CD before the vinyl came out, and the CD, frankly, sounds better than the vinyl on this. But anyway, it's definitely worth picking up just for that one track. And the whole album's nice as well, actually. It's in that kind of just on the edge of being the beginning of the LA sound for Motown here.
Okay, rather unexciting title or thing here, just like a white label. Jasmine Sullivan, who has a connection to Missy Elliott, and a track, I'm trying to remember how I came across that. I think I came across it because I've been watching a YouTube channel called Set the Trend, which has been documenting the kind of history of the rare groove scene, but the rare groove scene that was the one that came out of the reggae sound system into soul. Anyway, somehow I came across this track, which I'd never heard before. Jasmine Sullivan, Backstabbers, fantastic, stripped, Missy Elliott style, 90s groove.
It's always absolutely, you couldn't miss it for the first second, really.
No.
Miss it. I mean, it's always interesting, the relationship. Did Timbaland get the sound from Missy Elliott, or was it the other way around? You never know, really. And absolute fantastic record. This is one of my favourite Bohannon records, and completely mad as well, actually.
Yes.
And just, I mean, it's got the very long track on here. I can't remember which track I played. I played Got to Stay Funky, which is about 12 minutes long, has kind of multiple breakdowns on it, weird octave divider on a flugelhorn solos, keyboard solos, amazingly funky sound.
Great percussion.
Great percussion. And I think I said before that I saw Bohannon once at the, not really knowing who he was, at a place called the California Ballrooms up in Dunstable. And I wrote about it on Instagram, and his daughter said that he still has the drumsticks like chair legs at home. Anyway, so great album. This one never reissued, actually.
I was put in mind by, it was a kind of like mutant disco kind of vibe, which was slightly also reminded me of Arthur Russell. Anyway, what it really reminded me of was Can, and this album, which I think came out a year later, Saw Delight. This was the version of Can that had Rebop on percussion and Roscoe G, who had previously been with Traffic, on the bass. And this is the album called Saw Delight, and we listened to a track called Call Me.
The later albums are good. They're not all good all the way through, but there's some good tracks on them actually as well. So it's tribute time, and it's time to pay tribute to Dickie Betts. And as Bob Dylan says on one of his records, play Blue Sky, play Dickie Betts, which is what I did actually. A great album, this one actually as well. Duane Allman's only on half of it, but there's very much the flowering of Dickie Betts, I think, as a songwriter on here as well. From It's Peach.
And a vocalist.
And a vocalist, yeah, which wasn't the original idea, apparently.
No. Now, that's interesting.
We've gone out of sync.
We have gone out of sync, John. Anyway, I definitely played this in response to the album John's about to share. So we have somehow gone out of sync.
Yeah.
This is Mandrel. I think Puerto Rican New Yorkers. Had a string of albums in the 70s. I think there's still a version of them around. This is the album called Composite Truth, and we listened to a track called Fence Walk, which is one of their most famous tunes, which had a kind of actually almost a New Orleans-ish vibe initially, and then went into a kind of fast salsa groove. Sounding great, actually.
And Mandrel were to the East Coast what Santana were to the West Coast, really. And this is from the massive, I won't unravel it, because it'll take about half an hour to put it back together. This is from the triple album Lotus, which is, I played all the way through for the first time in ages. Fantastic, great sound as well. It's interesting how much it sounds like Miles's Agata record at times, and it was recorded in the same venue with the same engineer the year before Agata, actually, which is interesting. I always thought it was the other way around. And all the cover arts by the same artist as Agata as well. And it's just played a great version of what's called A1 Funk on the record, even though it's actually it's kind of a segue of a number of tracks from Caravanserai, which opens the record. Really good stuff, actually.
I mean, I thought I was listening to a live Miles album initially.
Yeah, something like that,
But with the searing, I think Santana was stepping on his wah-wah pedal, keeping it in the treble position.
Yeah, absolutely
Really
biting.
Absolutely biting. This is another 12-inch. Sorry, guys, not very exciting, although quite a nice label. Theo Parrish, Detroit musician, mixer, producer. And this track is What You're Gonna Ask For. And just a very kind of organic, lots of real instruments, lots of real vocals, kind of groove, like a housey groove, but very kind of warm and organic sounding, but just subtly adds little bits of layers and percussion as you listen. Yeah.
And then arrived yesterday morning. Thank you, Tony, very much. I don't know if you watch his videos actually, but thank you anyway. This is the new Sam Wilkes, Sam Gendale record, the Duba, third collaboration that they've done, and absolutely no information at all on the record about anything. But nearly all the tracks on it are covers of other tunes by people like Judy Sill, really unusual choices of covers, Roland Kirk, and all kinds of people. We played Circle and GBTC of this record as well, and it sounds great as well. Actually, I think it's only great after Mark cleaned it on his new machine with his new.
Well, it's not that new, but yeah, but it did actually. Yeah, the old VC Project record cleaner did really do its business, and noticing that they are both coming to the UK in November, Union Chapel.
We don't get tickets for Sweden when we get some.
Ed Topper, see you there.
Yeah.
In a similar-ish vein, this is an album that John bought me for my birthday, which I was absolutely delighted to receive. It's on the International Anthem record label, one of the best releases for me that I have. This is Daniel Villarreal, who's playing drums and percussion, alongside Jeff Parker on guitar and Anna Butters on double and electric bass. And we listened to a wonderful tune called Salute.
Yeah. Kind of great. They're kind of very, very loose. They're not kind of jams. They're a bit more than that. They're much more constructed than that, but they're very, really nice sound. Jeff Parker was interviewed recently and talked about how much he was influenced by Gabor Szabo, as were a lot of people, I think, actually. The Hungarian guitarist who eventually became resident in the States. And this is from, I think, his second CTI album, which was called Misrab, and played the track off there called 13. And it's just, I've been really getting into his music a lot recently. Just great stuff, I think, actually. And this album's, particularly the first side of this album is really, really good. And it features usual Bob James production and also arrangements, Ron Carter, whose birthday it is today, I think, actually. Happy birthday, Ron Carter, and Jack DeJohnette on drums on here.
Well, I think we go from one of the worst CTI record covers to one of the best here. Also featuring Gabor Szabo and Ron Carter and Jack DeJohnette and Bob James. And this is Paul Desmond's Skylark, which is an album that has a lot of meaning because it was an album that my dad had and used to play a lot when he had his photographic studio downstairs. We listened to Skylark, the title track. And instantly, I'm really enjoying Paul Desmond at the moment. I'm getting quite a bit of Paul Desmond.
Yeah.
What a voice.
You have to drink a dry martini if you're listening as well. Another awful record cover.
Yes.
I'm specialising in this. This is actually one of my favourite Charlie Parker albums. This is Swedish Schnapps. Don't even know why it's called Swedish Schnapps either, actually. But this is from 52, I think it was, or 53. So it was kind of getting towards the end of Charlie's time with Miles and with Ron Haynes and people. Fantastic record. And we played the track off here called KC Blues off there. And just an amazing tone. Absolutely. I mean, almost the opposite of Paul Desmond in a way, kind of way. Very biting tone, rather. But,
biting, but very effortless as well.
Totally
I think that's what I would say would be the similarities. They both were very fluent.
Yeah.
But different.
There's a great conversation you can probably find on YouTube or on the web between Paul Desmond and Charlie Parker, actually. So it's a good kind of combination, really.
Well, next up, I was saying to John, this probably would be, if I did bother with top fives, which I don't, this would be definitely in my top 5 reggae album selection. This is Bobby Bobylon, the first album from Freddie McGregor on the Studio One label. Not a bad tune on this, absolutely fantastic sound. We listened to a wonderful track called Wine of Violence, also great lyrics. If you don't know this album, it's super recommended.
Not a kind of typical beautiful record, not a typical Studio One sound in a way at all, actually. From Freddie McGregor went to Gregory Isaacs and Soon Forward, which was his title track, I guess, off his album, same name, which came out on Frontline. And this is the 12-inch extended kind of showcase style version of it. Can't get it so you can see it anyway. Yeah, just typical Gregory Isaacs.
I think you should share your Gregory Isaacs autograph story, John.
I think I've already done this once on the show.
Okay.
But yeah, Gregory Isaacs appeared in Brighton and one time, and I was slightly involved with promoting the gig. And he arrived kind of massively early, almost a day early for the gig, whereas the Roots Radics arrived the day after we were playing with. And he was in my flat in Brunswick Place in Brighton. And at one point I asked him to sign a couple of my records. He signed one of his records, but then he also signed a load of other records which weren't by him. Including, I've got the only copy of the Beatles' White Album signed by Gregory Isaacs. Well, which is, I don't know whether to place a value on that if you can, actually. And also he signed a load of other things as well.
The Grateful Dead album.
The Grateful Dead, he signed the Grateful Dead Skull and Roses as well, so anyway.
The little reggae detour put me in mind of this. This is the rebirth of Cool 4 album. There was a great series of these that came out in the early 90s that actually, when I look back, there are some good tunes on here. And in particular, it was the DJ Crush Just Wanna Touch Her stoned jazz mix that we listened to, with some wonderful sort of dub oboe playing. Sounded good, I thought.
There's some good tunes, but also some not very good tunes.
Yes, that's true.
But they were great compilations, actually. And I don't know what the connection was with that, but then went for really my favourite, or one of my favourite Rahsaan Roland Kirk albums, Return of the £5,000 Man, and the weird track, wonderful track called Theme for the Olympians. And spoken word introduction, great spoken word introduction, actually works really well. Fantastic. He was starting to play a lot more tenor alone at this time. This is before he had his stroke. And he was getting fed up, I think, about being seen a little bit as a novelty act at this point, and was toying with the idea just before he had his stroke, actually, which affected his playing, of just playing tenor for a couple of years as well. And he's probably one of the best ever tenor players, actually, absolutely fantastic player. Anyway, this is a great album all the way through, actually, and I think quite a lot of people's favourite.
There seemed to be a natural segue for some reason to this album, which it has just come out. Another Michel Ndegeocello album. In fact, there's a third one about to be released. This is on the Red Hot label. So there's been many Red Hot albums that all go towards AIDS charities, I believe.
Yeah. I think they've widened it a bit now. It's
widened.
Just to health charities in general.
Health charities. Anyway, I'm saying what a great cover. So a kind of Michel Ndegeocello reimagining of Sun Ra, and in particular Magic City, with just really cleverly done, great sort of original production. I think she's on a real kind of hot streak at the moment, Michelle. We listened to a track which is going to be quite hard for me to pronounce, I think. Where is that?
Just what Mark's looking for. It's the second one they've done on Red Hot. She did one last year as well, the previous year as well, with Brazilian musicians, tribute to Sun Ra. So it's the second one she's done.
Solipsistic Panacea, Black Antiques.
We were just saying as well after Mark played this. It's interesting how people like Miles and Sun Ra and a whole range of musicians need to get more and more influential rather than less as well. They're everywhere, really. I don't know what the connection was between this. Anyway, this is a very odd James Taylor.
Maybe it was the oddness.
Maybe the oddness, actually, which most people hate, actually, but I've always really liked this record. About half of it's instrumental. It also segues in, each tune segues into each other. Very kind of. There's only one tune on here which ever became a hit, I think, which was Don't Let Me Be Lonely Tonight. Everything else was pretty much ignored. It's also the album where the Section really got together with Lee Sklar and Russ Kunkel and others as well. But I've always liked this record. You can play it all the way through, and it's kind of a bit slightly kind of woozy sounding record, but I've always liked kind of woozy records. Anyway, One Man Dog, played a sequence off the second side of that, 4 short tracks which all kind of merge into each other. I think it tricks people because it looks like one of his previous albums, actually, but really doesn't sound anything like it at all.
Well, it was very much in that sequence.
Yeah.
I remember my dad had a cassette version of that that we used to listen to. So we were into singer-songwriter territory, and I thought I'd drop this, which I'd never heard until fairly recently. A track by Jim Rafferty, who is the brother of Jerry Rafferty, who some of you will know from Stealers Wheel and, of course, Baker Street. And this track came out in 1982. and it's called I See Red, and it's just been reissued on the Drag City record label. It's a great piece
Very nice.
of slightly left field pop, I guess. It actually put me in mind of one of my other favourite tunes of all time, which is Brian Prothero's Pinball. It's just actually quite uncategorizable. And I think this was a product of Jim Rafferty getting access to a multi-track tape machine, and I think it's pretty much all him. But it sounds great.
Sounded very good. I think of great sounding records. I played, been playing this recently actually, and I've just been really struck by how amazing it sounds and how different it sounds to so much other stuff around. This is Herbie Hancock's score for Round Midnight, the film with Dexter Gordon playing not himself but somebody like himself in the film. I played the track off here called Berenguer's Nightmare, which is Herbie with Pierre Michelot on bass, Billy Higgins on drums, and John McLaughlin on guitar. But the thing about this record, and I had been digging around a bit, it was recorded on a sound stage. So it wasn't recorded in a studio and wasn't recorded live. And you've got this amazing kind of spacious effect on it. Really, it's almost like a three-dimensional sound. And it doesn't sound anything like any other record I can think of, except for other ones that are also recorded on sound stages. There aren't many of those as well. And I think it might have been recorded on film as well, rather than on tape, which is a very expensive way of making a record. But I think you do get this incredible kind of sound quality of it as well.
I have to say I've not heard that record for years, and certainly not since I've had such a good system.
Yeah.
And it did sound incredible.
Yeah.
Another tribute moment to David Sanborn, the sax player who died a few weeks ago, who's, I imagine, all over many people's record collections. And here he is on the Kudu Records album by Joe Beck, simply entitled Beck, and again another appearance from Will Lee on the bass. And we listened to the track called Texas Ann, which had a very overall flangey sound. I really liked it, and a very searing, emotive David Sanborn solo.
Yeah. Also, we follow up with another tribute to David Sanborn. This was a concert I was actually at. Actually, it's the first time I saw Sanborn live, and this is with Gil Evans at the Festival Hall in London. A great band with George Adams, Arthur Blythe, Herb Bushler, all kinds of great, Masabumi Kikuchi, great lineup actually. And this is a live version of Angel, and which was recorded on his Plays Jimi Hendrix album as well. Great passionate solo on here as well.
Frankie Beverly from Maze has both had I think an 80th birthday, and also announced that he's going to be retiring from live performances. And this is a track, or an album I should say, that came out in 1989. Not a golden period for Maze music, but it's the album called Silky Soul. But the track I remembered and we played last night, which I absolutely love, is called Can't Get Over You. And it just captures all of the elements that made Maze such a kind of unique sound. So there is a real jazzy, lilting quality, and then just his beautiful plaintive vocal. Always great keyboards, I've noticed on these.
It was Philip Wu, wasn't it?
It was Philip Wu,
yeah. Then he joined Roy Ayers after that as well. So my last one record was back to Jeff Parker again, actually. Now, I haven't played this at a session before. This is his most recent of two solo albums he's made, and called Four Folks, which came out an international anthem. And I just read a great interview with the drummer Tom Skinner a while ago, and he said this is one of his favourite records. He had to force himself from stop playing it over and over again, because it made everything in the world seem better. And I know what he means, actually. There's something about this record. And also the whole of Jeff Parker's playing, which is incredibly, it was, Bill Frisell said, bullshit free, but also very beautiful kind of sound, I think. And this, I think, it's quite a lo-fi kind of recording, but it's a great album, actually. Very highly recommended. Played the title track, Four Folks, off this.
Yeah, I think there's kind of no ego going on.
No ego.
It's sort of very honest.
Yeah.
And interesting. Okay, well, my last tune, I think I have played this many years ago on the VC. To talk about this could actually be worse. This could be the worst cover of the session. I think.
But also another record which is great. great sound.
A fantastic sound. This is as they were called then, the Jazz Crusaders, and old socks, new shoes, new socks, old shoes. And the phenomenally simple but powerful track, which closes the second side, called Way Back Home, which just has this wonderful, it feels like there's about 3 or 4 Styx Hooper drum kits that make an appearance over the course of the track, ending in this kind of almost, you just want to kind of march off into the distance when you listen to this fantastic tune.
Yeah, and also something about the Crusaders makes the world even better place.
It does,
as well, actually.
definitely.
Styx Hooper's great drummer. I don't think he played with anybody else, did he? I think he only played with the Crusaders, and that was the last one they made as Jazz Crusaders, wasn't it? I think they transitioned after then. So I didn't play my last thing was the first CD of the evening, and this is a ECM record of music from Asturias, which is kind of northern Spain and across kind of diaspora across that part of Europe, but also stretching into South America and Argentina as well. And this is the viola player, not Kim Kardashian, but Kim Kardashian, and the pianist Robert Levin. Just very, very beautiful short pieces on here. So it's on ECM's new series, their classical series as well. Just I find it very, very probably one of the most restful records I have, I think, in terms of its kind of vibe. Beautifully recorded. You can actually hear the viola player breathing on it. The recording is so kind of sharp as well.
And that, folks, is it.
That's it. Yeah.
Wishing everybody well.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've got an election in 4 weeks.
Everyone's got an election, I think. It seems all over the world.
Yeah, yeah. It's
So
the new dawn.
The new dawn. Well, I hope it is. Actually. It might be a bit like the old dawn, I think, but slightly better dawn. I think is all we can wish for at the moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yes, please do tune into John and I's regular record shows, which are in the link below.
Yeah.
See you soon, folks.
Vast back catalogues on
Very
Mixcloud as
vast.
well.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.